As you can see, the conversation continues. So, Nerima, you're the one who's holding the mic. Yes. We have to come back to what Anne had earlier said. But let me begin with the aspect of how we were mothered. Do we mother how we were mothered? Will you mother how you were mothered? Or will you change a few things as well?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm not a mother yet, but I do have a godson, and I'm very involved with the church, with Sunday school. Love kids, a lot of. But I think my mother is superwoman. She is an amazing woman, and she's one of those mothers who ended up leaving her career to raise us, and she raised amazing children. All of us are doing very, very well. But I think right now, the conversation that we're having is not as simple as we think that it is. Because if we were to talk about how women even entered the workforce, we need to remember that it was during a world war. And men were at war. And they felt that women needed to be involved in making ammunition, in being involved in the workforce, because there were no men doing it. And then when they came back from the war, it was almost as though, oh, here we have a woman with skills, but now we need to tell her to go back to the kitchen. And then we're here living in a society where, honestly, the economic living standards are too high for one income in one household. So two people do need to work. So now we haven't really had that conversation of how do we balance continuing to reproduce and continue to being a nation and then making it work for the both of us. And those are the conversations I think we do not have in Africa. We continue to assume that our culture and tradition is very myopic, and it's very, this is your role and you stick to it, you cannot get out of it. But we do not want to think that there are several factors outside that are multifaceted.
Do you think our African culture constrains how we parent, how we mother?
Yes. Sometimes it really, really does, because even I struggle with understanding, for instance, young men who are married, but then they will clearly tell you how, for instance, that, you know, my wife has to do this, she has to cook, I have to get fresh food even after she comes from work, putting this load. But then when you ask them who raised you, it is their mother. And only their mother, and they saw their mother struggle, and they'll tell you how she was a single mother and she's the one who raised me and built me up. But all of a sudden, you know, I don't know what happens. I don't understand what happens to where men love their moms.
All right, so Anne, is it fair enough then that even we in this modern day and age have to also struggle like our mothers struggled for you to be seen as a person who is successfully parenting? And for you as well, how you parent your child, has that had do you parent the same way you were parented?
Okay, that's a tough one as well. But I won't, if I was to change something about how I was raised up and how I'm raising my child, I would say I would be more friendly with him than my parents were with me. I wasn't that close and open to my parents, so I would face some challenges and difficulties that I need to know some things that they are supposed to tell me, but I could not. I didn't have the courage to. I talk to somebody who is far from my family so that I can know what I want to learn in life. But for me, that now I think I should be more close to him so that he can know what he wants to know about the life and everything from me. First to hear it from me, not from the world. Yeah. All
right. Wangari, do you also agree with what Anne had earlier said before we went on that commercial break? The debate had already been sparked. How, if my memory serves me right, the parenting and how perhaps the men in this day and age still expect them, you know, when you do get married and have children, to still behave copy and paste from their mothers, from our mothers, and is that even fair?
We were having this debate in the break, and what I was saying is that when you're in a courtship with your potential husband, do you try to emulate and be like his mom and your mom and try to be that person when you know inside your heart that you're not this person? You can't live up to those expectations. If you can't live up to those expectations, please don't sell yourself as that, because then that's when you start having your problems after you get married. Like, you used to cook for me and now you used to be so, I married you because you were like my mom, and all of this kind of problems start cropping up. So I think it's you're doing yourself a disservice if you try to sell yourself in a manner in which you are not. But I think even compounding that is the fact that when I look at my own experience, my mother was very nurturing and very. She used to take care of my father very well, but she didn't expect us to do the same. Like if he came in at night and she brought him a plate or she brought him his slippers, and if that was fine. But if that happened and if he came home and she wasn't there, we weren't expected to do the same. I wouldn't like go and run off to the kitchen and find him food and bring him his slippers. No, I would think that I would do it if I wanted to, but I didn't feel that I had that expectation to do it because my parents didn't raise me to. I think they had a bigger vision for what I could be as a woman. And I think that's the same for my father. My father wasn't expectant that I would do those types of things. So I think that also kind of nurtured that spirit of independence and that spirit of, if you have a partner, that partner would be what you want that partner to be. You define your relationship as you enter it.
All right, ladies, we need to close up this conversation. So I'll begin with Mucha. We get closing comments, very short and precise, so everyone can have their say. Mucha, your closing comments.
I think marriage is a partnership, and in my experience, that partnership extends to parenting. And, I think that we have a responsibility as parents. I'm a mother of boys to make sure that we're raising our children so that they are able to navigate life as it is today.
Right.
And I think that's really important.
Okay. Anita, very briefly.
When we talk about single parenting, because that's what we were talking about, and if a mother can play both mother and father, I think it's a no. You're not a man. And no man can play mother, you're not a woman. So we need, as much as we're parenting, motherhood or fatherhood is not actually having the child, it's nurturing and raising the child. So as much as we're parenting, we need to make sure our kids grow in an environment where they have a father figure if there's no father, or a mother figure where there's no mother. Then that child is going to have a normal life. Stop thinking you can become something you're not.
Right. Amina?
I think it's high time that the government institutions and workplaces create infrastructure that support motherhood, i.e. creche, and also working mothers, don't shy away from making demands. Right? If you need to travel with your child, for instance, very quickly, I went to Naivasha. I was doing a project with Ministry of Education. I said, you want me to be there? I've got 1-on-1. I have to travel with my nanny. So you just make demands and also let's create opportunities for working mothers to have a holistic lifestyle.
Nice. All right. Anne, your closing statement?
They say monkey see, monkey do. So our children will do what we are doing. They will copy us. They will copy mothers more than they would want to copy the fathers, because mother has a greater influence in the lives of children. I would also not forget to say that we will do a continuation of this parenting later this afternoon with our sister company, Inoro Radio. We'll be in Thika Stadium, and we're inviting all the mothers out there to come and listen to what we are saying. We'll still be talking on motherhood. But one thing I would say, for a woman to enjoy the life, to be happy in her mothering, she just has to keep enjoying being a mother.
All right, Wangari, very briefly, as I come down here, your closing statement.
Okay, 3 very brief things. 1, prioritize. Make sure you understand what you can and can't do, and the things that you can do them very well. 2, delegate the things that you can't do. Make sure that you have someone doing them so that they don't fall out. And then the last one, 3, is never be embarrassed about your family. As Amina said, if you need to take your child, if you can attend a work function because you have to go for a school function, do it, and do not be embarrassed about that.
Beautiful. Nerima?
I think more than ever, parents need to prioritize their time with their children. I see it where social media is completely taking over and there's a breakdown. So whatever system works for you in your home, fine. But just as long as that unit, however you want to work it, time is important to your children.
Beautiful. Anne?
Okay, I would go for us, or specifically being a mother, to learn to know who you are. First, sit down with yourself, revisit your life, what you want your child to be, because what they see is what they become from you.
All right.
That's right from us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anne, Nerima, Wangari, Mucha, Anita, Amina, Anne again. Thank you, ladies, for being here and having this conversation on live TV. That takes courage. So I'm very grateful, and on behalf of the Daybreak team, we say thank you as well. Let's take a look at some of the feedback that has been coming through our SMS line 22422. As well as our official Twitter handle at Citizen TV Kenya. Viola, you say, morning. Being a mother is the greatest gift a woman can get in her entire life. Bravo to all mothers. This is on SMS. Thank you so much, Viola, for sending in your feedback. Sir Nixon, you say motherhood is nowadays being driven by the social media and Google, where young mothers consult instead of sourcing from the culturally experienced elderly. Still on SMS. You don't say who you are, but you say young mothers drink like their fathers in this generation. They don't care about the values and the image they portray. All right. Alice is saying men were fully responsible for everything, but currently men have forgotten their duties and mothers carry the whole responsibility. Very interesting comments and feedback from our viewers on our SMS line. Pascal, you're watching from Voi Town. Good morning. You say, a man who does not know what goes on in his homestead is not a father, neither a husband. All right, let's take a look at Twitter. Hashtag Daybreak. That's our ticket into the conversation if you want to be part of it. Engineer Lazaro on Twitter, you say mothers carry the heavy load of responsibility to keep the family intact. Most of us lack words when we remember what our moms went through in order to bring up the family. All right. Very interesting feedback there. Junior Mato, you say, I have no problem with status quo if we won't be applied on some feminine basis like it happens around us. Issue should not be solved basing on gender alone. And Anita seems to be agreeing with that. Okay, still on Twitter, Kisiangi, if I've pronounced that right, you say some mothers have relegated motherhood to house managers, TV, and the internet. Very tragic. This is, however, a minority. This is the last one on Twitter, hashtag Daybreak. That's the Twitter handle, hashtag you can use. Some, you say, mothers are the seeds of generations. Without them, the center cannot hold. Okay, very interesting feedback there. Our conversation today was motherhood, the very first women's conference right here on TV, Daybreak, and these women led the conversation. Last week, again, we had a very official men's conference, and not the one we saw on 14th of February, the one that was on Twitter. It was an actual men's conference. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Your SMSs and your tweets as well. We'll be having more of these conversations regularly here on Daybreak. We want to be purposeful about it, both for the women as well as the men. We need to take a commercial break. When we come back, Kimani Mbugwa will be telling us what has been trending online the whole entire week. I'm sure that Tanzania versus Kenya game is something that has taken front and center stage on social media. That and much more here on Daybreak. Stay with us. We'll be right back.